What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Happy Monday, which means it is Movie Monday. We did a TV show last time, so now we're doing a movie. And this movie is a new one on Netflix called Velvet Buzzsaw. It's with Jake Gyllenhaal, Rene Russo, John Malkovich. It was a good movie. Came out on Netflix on February 1st, first day. And I remember seeing the trailer for this on Twitter, and I was kind of pumped about it. It was good. Wasn't great, but it was as good as it was going to be for an art movie. I'll just dive right into it. Before I do, make sure you hit the subscribe button down here, and that way you can see a new movie review or TV show review every single Monday, and give you my review on it. Now, unlike the other movie slash TV show reviews that I've done, I'm not going to give you a chronological summary of the movie and tell you every little detail about it. I'm just going to go through my thoughts of it, the themes that were in it, that I thought were in it at least, and just give you my overall impression of the whole thing to not spoil the whole thing for you so you can go watch it for yourself. And then if you want to let me know what you thought, that would be sweet. Velvet Buzzsaw is about the art world, really. And when I read like the summary of the movie before I watched it, I did a little bit of research beforehand because I figured I'm going to need to know more about how art works and all that nonsense, whatever, um, before I watch this movie to have it make more sense. And I'm glad I did because if you don't know anything about art or like anything about the art world or nothing, if you literally know nothing about it, you're going to be very confused and you're going to be like, what is going on in this movie? The whole movie is kind of like a satirical play against the art world. Really, they kind of not overdo it, but they really try to hit the main points of how the art world works and what happens in it. They might have went over the top. I don't know. I've never been to an art show or anything like that, but and involve the main theme. What I took from it was greed and implied into all these different aspects of the art world through different ways, through horror, through death, through whatever. Um, through the characters. So the main characters in the movie, Jake Gyllenhaal plays Morph. He's an art critic, like a really famous art critic. Rene Russo's character, Rhoda, she's an art gallery owner, that main art gallery that you see throughout the whole movie. John Malkovich is like he's kind of like he's a failing artist. You kind of pick up through the movie. He stopped drinking and then he started sucking at art. John Don, who's like an agent kind of. He's John Malkovich's agent. Natalia Dyer's character, Coco, she's in Stranger Things, which I'm also psyched about. I gotta rewatch that. But she's kind of like everyone's secretary. Literally, the whole movie, she's everyone's like receptionist, secretary. Just goes through each one. Um, and then Toni Collette's character, she is like a not a critic, but she's like I guess she's kind of a critic, but she's like a museum person, just likes to collect art and all that. And Josephina, the British one, she is more Jake Gyllenhaal's agent. And then of course the guy who dies at the very beginning to start this whole trend of people dying, Vetral Dees, who's the artist that all these main characters I've just listed, who they're all fascinated with. They didn't know he existed. He dies. Josephina finds him because they live in the same apartment building, and she goes into his place and sees that he has all like these paintings that he's done, and no one can find. Like they research him, they're like, "Who the hell is this Vetral Dees guy? I don't know." And the one important part of the movie at the very beginning, when the one random guy is cleaning out, I guess his mailbox, Vetral Dees' mailbox. Josephine is there. He's like, he left very explicit instructions to destroy everything in his apartment, including all of his artwork. But the greed here comes to play, in fact, because Josephina sees all this art. And she's like, "Oh my god, I can make so much money off this. I'm gonna get so rich off these. These are amazing," and she doesn't destroy them. And then it look. You can't take this movie literally. You can't be like, "Oh, it's about a bunch of paintings that come to life to kill people." If that's how you see the movie, you're not going to enjoy a lot of movies. It's the way the director wanted to portray how greed overtakes what is important really, in your life. So he used the art world to say, people in art are greedy, or people just care about money and wealth and all this, and then they'll go to lengths to risk their lives and risk other people's lives because they want so much. They have so much greed. They want so much money, and everything. So that was the main theme of the movie that I got out of it, at least. Now there are little intricate details throughout the movie that you can pick up on. Like I'm going to show you a screen grab later in this video of it could have been a mistake, it could have been a message, I don't know, but I'll show you later in a couple minutes. But anyway, so let's focus on the deaths throughout the movie, because basically the whole premise of the movie is this guy Vettel Dees. He's kind of this creepy dude, this weird guy that no one really knew about. He went rogue for like 30 years. No one knew where he was. And then Morph does research on him, finds out because he wants to write a book and make money off it, of course. And he finds out all this crazy stuff about him that no one liked him. No one wanted to be around him. He was just this weird dude. So you kind of just infer, like, okay, he's got some weird supernatural force with him or some shit. And his paintings came to life, and they're haunted. And throughout the whole movie, his paintings are displayed in this art gallery because everyone wants them, because they're so attractive and they make a lot of money, that the other paintings come to life and end up killing people. That's basically what happens in the movie. The first person that died was the guy. He was transporting these paintings that Rhoda, Rene Russo, told him to take to a different place because she wanted to keep them for herself to sell, basically, and not display all the paintings that they had. And they had hundreds of them, hundreds of paintings, hundreds and hundreds of paintings. Now, on his way to, when he's transporting these at night, one of the paintings comes to life, and you can see the paintings shift around. They come to life, and it sets his truck on fire, sets him on fire. He crashes his truck, he wipes himself off, and then he finds his abandoned like gas station type of thing. I don't know what it was, a little rest stop. Goes inside, he's cleaned himself off in the sink, and there's another painting in front of him. It's like a painting of monkeys, and the painting comes to life, and the monkeys grab him and kill him, and you never see him again. So that's like, they at first thought, they're like, oh, it's just a weird thing, he just died, blah, 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 they can't find him. Then the next person that died was John Donne. Yes, John Donne, who's John Malkovich's agent. He gets hung by his scarf or handkerchief, whatever that thing, I think it's a scarf, whatever that is. He gets hung, and it's here's where you have to interpret things. So he's in the art gallery, or his studio, wherever he's at, and like the new form of art is like live action art, like real life art, like people and sets and all that. So the one set was like a projector screen with the reels and the films were playing, and it just went on by itself. He goes in to shut it off. It doesn't shut off. It's still on. And now the whole room that he's in, it shifts and completely changes into a different room. Now, and ultimately the lights flicker, and then ultimately he tries to climb up and take the light out or reset the light, and then he has a scarf here, and then a hand comes out of nowhere, grabs him, and hangs him. This is where you have to kind of interpret. If you saw the scene, if you have seen the movie and you saw the scene, you're like, why is the room shifting? I don't understand. This is how I figured it out. This is how I made sense of it, at least. When everyone looks at art, everyone sees something different, right? So, like, if you just take any random painting, for example, like this thing right here, this home thing, it's not a painting, it's not art or anything, but someone can just come in and look at that and be like, oh, I see it as this, or someone else will be like, oh, I see it as that. So when the room shifts where John Donne is, it's kind of like his version of art, or Vettel Dees' version of art, and how he sees it versus how he sees it versus how she sees it, and so it's all different. So and I'll explain this in Josephina's death later in this video as well, how she sees what she sees. So he dies, and then the next person to die is Toni Collette's character, who it's that sphere. If you saw the movie, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, just watch it. It makes a lot of sense. It's a sphere, and it's got all these little holes in it, and if you put your arm in the holes, it gives you like these different sensations. And she buys this thing at the beginning of the movie, and she's so caught up with it, like in love with it, like, oh my god, the sphere, I got the sphere, I bought it, and she's so proud of it because she's like, it'll draw a lot of people in and make me a lot of money, blah blah blah. And she's just by herself one night, and she sticks her arm in the thing, and then it comes to life, and it rips her arm off, and then she bleeds out and dies. Now, the craziest part about this whole thing is the next morning, when she's just laying in her own pool of blood, dead on the floor, and the museum or the art gallery opens for people to come in, and they think that she's a part of the exhibit. They think this fake dead person is a part of the exhibit, and the blood is like paint, and there's kids like stepping in it and dancing in the blood because they think it's part of the art. They think it's art. basically. And that's just another play on the movie, the satirical play in the movie, where you can literally take a dead person with blood around them, put him in the middle of the floor, and people will think it's art. That's that's part of the whole satire of the whole movie. So that was insane. But then Coco comes in, and she sees Tony Collette dead on the floor, and is like freaks out and goes insane. And poor Coco, she's like, she finds John Don hung, she finds Tony Collette dead on the floor, and then she eventually finds Morph dead as well. Oh yeah, they all die. The next person that dies is Josephina. Yeah, Josephina and Morph kind of die at the exact same time. But anyway, Josephina, she is at this bar with like her new boyfriend, and they she wants to leave. She doesn't want to be there anymore. She goes out to the parking lot, and her car is blocked in by this other car. So she calls like the tow company, like, "Hey, come tow this car. I need to leave." Whatever. And she's just standing in the parking lot, and then all of a sudden, the graffiti behind her on like these crates or whatever, they shift and they turn into like this museum essentially. So there's doors and she opens it, and then this is also the part because you're like, why is she like think this is real? You can look at anything and think it's art, or you can think that like if I just stand here like this, like someone could say, oh, that's art, but this is the whole point of the movie where she thinks, oh, this is art. I can just walk in here and it's great and it's fine. She doesn't think twice about it because this is what she knows. So it kind of shifts into a museum. She opens a door, she goes in, and it's all these random paintings. And she's just kind of standing there in the middle of the fake museum. And she's on the phone with somebody, and then all of a sudden the paintings start leaking from the walls, and they start going up her leg and all of her arms and her face. And she is like consumed by the art. So this is also something you have to look into here of how she dies because the art consumes her. She's so caught up in her art that it literally consumes her. Like, you know that expression, like, oh, you're so fed up with something, like, or you'll, like, let's say if you eat a lot of pasta, like, oh, you're going to turn into pasta one day. That's like the whole point here is where she's like, oh, you're so into art, you're going to turn into art. And she does turn into art, right? You see at the, like, kind of towards the very end where they show the crates of graffiti and she's embedded in the graffiti, like, screaming. So, and it kind of deserved it because at the very beginning of the movie, she was the one that just kind of said, screw whatever that guy said, and his painting should be destroyed. And she was like, no. She was the whole one that started this chain of events. Like, if she just set them all on fire, none of this shit would have happened. But she didn't do that because she's so greedy, and she wanted her money. Now, Morph, Jake Gyllenhaal's character, who, by the way, plays an art critic perfectly. I mean, he literally can play any part. Dude is talented, man. He can play pretty much anybody. He's played them all. But anyway, he gets this now. He's figuring out like this is bad. Like we need to stop this shit. We need to go away, and he's ready to pack up and leave. So he hires Coco as his like person to lock up his house, help him with storage and moving shit. And then he's like, I'm getting out of here. I'm leaving. So he's locking up his thing in storage, and this other like lifelike painting or lifelike art thing called Hobo Man. It's this robot essentially with crutches, and it's supposed to be a portrayal of a homeless guy. It comes to life, and it ends up killing him and breaking his neck. I found it kind of funny because of this art, this art portrayal of a homeless man who's like lower class, kills through the form of art Jake Gyllenhaal, who's upper class, just has a shit ton of money, and those two come together through the form of art, and it ends up killing him because he's greedy and he's wealthy and he just cares about money and blah blah blah. So that's another connection that I made through there. And then the final death of the movie is Rhoda, and this is where the Velvet Buzzsaw thing comes into play. If some of you are watching the movie like, what the hell is Velvet Buzzsaw? Well, there's a very small portion in the very beginning of the movie where Velvet Buzzsaw is mentioned. She has a tattoo on her neck that says Velvet Buzzsaw. It was like her 80s punk rock band or something that she was in. And there's a couple portrayals of what our meaning is of what Velvet Buzzsaw means. If you go on Google and just type in Velvet Buzzsaw meaning, there's a few things that pop up. The first one that pops up is vagina. That's all I'm going to say about that. There's other portrayal that is like a buzzsaw is something that can like harm you and like do a lot of damage to you. and velvet is very soft. So like on the outside, it looks very soft and nice to touch, but a buzzsaw, like inside, it'll kill you. Like in its core, it will kill you. And that's the portrait. That's like the meaning that I took, not vagina. I took that meaning and kind of applied it to this movie, and was like, well, art on the outside is very soft. It's very innocent, essentially, but deep rooted in it, it comes out this greed and comes out this competition that drives people insane to the point where they'll like it's like fight to the death, essentially, and that's what this whole point of the movie is. And the art basically on her neck of Velvet Buzzsaw comes to life and kills her. Like it's a buzzsaw and it spins and kills her. So she's killed by that, and there's also a connection where she kind of mentions very subtly in the very beginning of the movie that like her band broke up, and you kind of get throughout the movie that it's her greed, because she's the most greedy one of them all by far. It's not even close. The greed broke up the band, and she has it tattooed on her neck. So she literally has greed in her, essentially, and then it ends up killing her. Greed ends up killing her. That's what that is. Now, the two people that did not die, Coco, who's just innocent, all she just wants is a job. She just wants to work for someone and make money, because she mentioned it at the end of the movie. She tells Jake Gyllenhaal's character Morph, she's like, I just want a job. Like, do I have a job? She just wants to make money so she doesn't have to move back to Michigan, as she says. So she's not consumed by this art. She doesn't care about the money. She doesn't care about the greed, about the art, and like how much money it's going to make. She just wants her own part-time job just to, get a car or whatever the hell. And the other character that does die is John Malkovich, because he doesn't give a shit about Vettel Dees. He doesn't care about his art. He just cares about himself, and he's like struggling, and he just wants to find himself. And there's an interesting end credit scene where he's on the beach drawing something with a stick in the sand. Now, people were watching this, and I saw on Twitter like, what does this mean? Well, I'll explain it to you. So when Rhoda told John Malkovich, go to my beach house, this is where he's at now. Go to my beach house, find yourself, take some time, find what makes you happy, essentially. John Malkovich gets it, right? He gets the whole point of art, and he's on the beach, and he's drawing this thing for himself. Doesn't care about it. If anybody sees it, because he's drawing it on the beach, the tide comes up and it's swiping it away as he's drawing it, but he doesn't care, because he's doing it for himself, and he's making himself happy, and he's the only one that, in his mind, he's like, I'm the only one that needs to know I did this, because as long as I see it, I'm good. I don't need to sell it. I don't need to make money off it. I don't need to make this person happy or this critic happy, or I don't need this review. I just need to know that I did this for myself, and I saw it, and it made me happy. And that's the whole point of that end credit scene. And it kind of separates the, if you're too greedy, it's going to drive you to the point where it's going to kill you. If you're not, and if you're happy with yourself and you make yourself happy, well, you'll be fine, essentially. And that's literally the end of the movie right there. Overall, again, I thought it was good. I probably would like it a second time if I like it more if I watch it a second time. But it wasn't fantastic. It wasn't spectacular. It wasn't great. It was good though. I recommend it. I don't think it's a movie that if you don't see it, it's not like, oh my god, you didn't see Velvet Buzzsaw. It's not like that. But it's a good movie. I do recommend it. If you have nothing to do on a Saturday or something, or a Friday night, and you're just bored, then turn on Netflix, put it on. It's like 2 hours long. It's a good movie, but don't watch it and be like, it's about a bunch of paintings that come to life to kill people. Think about it. Just think on a deeper level sometimes with movies, because that's what most of them are, is thinking on a deeper level and trying to get a message across. Try to figure out what the message is. Now, one more thing before I go, a little bonus thing here. There is a scene in this movie where I don't know if it was a mistake or if it was like a movie mistake that they screwed up on, or if it was like this little subliminal message that kind of hinted at foreshadowing, essentially, of how this movie was going to go. So I'm going to show that to you right now. All right, so this was just a cool little thing that I saw. This is in the beginning of the movie when Rhodora, she is kind of on the set of that like lifelike art thing. You think it's real, but it's just it's a family of four, and they're watching the Powerball go off, or the lottery go off with all the money, which is also kind of like a little subliminal message that money is pretty much the root of this movie, and greed and all that.
But anyway, if you pay attention, if you look in the background, you're looking at both of these shots now. The kid in the background, he's not a real person. It's like a fixture or whatever, like a doll or something like that. But if you look at the screen on the left, this was the first shot, and then this is the very last shot on the right. You see how he's just subtly turned a little bit? I don't know if it was a mistake, but he definitely is turned. He's more closed off on the right side than he is, and he's opened up on the left side. I don't know if it was a mistake on their part, or if there was a deleted scene in there where they moved him and they just, didn't want to edit it and fix it, or if this was like foreshadowing to say, well, the art is going to move, right? It's going to take a different form, and it's going to shape differently and change. So I don't know. I just picked that up watching it. I thought it was pretty cool. And if you think that this is actually something in the movie, or if you just think it's a mistake, comment below. If you found anything else, also comment below.
All right, so just a cool little thing. Again, I don't know. I don't know if it was a mistake. I don't know if it was just something that they threw in there subtly. But I noticed it. Like I said, I noticed it the first time that I watched it, and I rewinded. I'm like, it's a very small change, but I don't know why I noticed it. I did, but it just stood out to me for some reason. I don't know. It's just very weird. I rewinded it a couple times, and I'm like, it is different. It's different. He's different. He's not looking the right way. But anyway, it's a little bonus thing there. I thought that was kind of cool. Again, it's Movie Monday. Tuesday we're going to do tutorial, so it's either going to be a card trick or a guitar song tutorial. Check back tomorrow to find out. Make sure you hit the subscribe button down here in the little bottom right. Click on the other videos that popped up throughout this video, and enjoy the stuff, enjoy the content, and have fun with it. And make sure you keep returning. If you subscribe, you won't have to worry about returning because they'll pop up right away on your screen. All right? Have a good Monday, everybody. Peace.